I love crashes. When the markets crash, that's when I get rich.
Inflation is causing stress.
The United States can pay any debt because we can always print money.
If you print bonds in your own currency, what happens to the currency?
When the currency collapses, the economy collapses. You have to be ready.
What's your best investment that you've ever made?
I wrote a book, sold 45 million copies of it.
Do you expect some sort of a stock market crash, and how can you get rich during the crash?
To me, it's the game. I play Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, red hotel, oil wells. There's so many options to get rich, but you got to find the one that works for you.
Do you see there being a huge issue with money printing and taking on debt within the economy?
America loses $2 trillion a year. One of the richest countries in the world used to be called Rhodesia. The biggest financial disaster in history took place there because they kept printing money. The US dollar's next.
Robert, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. You've really changed my life. I think when your book came out, I read it in high school, I think 9th grade, and it completely got me thinking about buying assets, not buying liabilities. That completely changed my perspective, that from that point onwards, I just wanted to invest my money.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't be here today if it were not for your book.
I'll tell you, that's the greatest joy of mine. I'm an old man now, And when I started out about your age, all I could hear was, you're full of. I was saying, saving money is stupid. Savers are losers. Your house is not an asset. And you should buy the stocks. I'm in the stock market. And I had to fight for my own survival mentally. So I meet young guys like you. You have more options. And that's the thing, is there's so many options to get rich, but you got to find the one that works for you, so it's great.
Yeah.
So that makes me happiest.
Thank you. Curious, how much debt do you have?
$1 billion.
Does that ever make you nervous? Are you ever worried about defaulting on the debt?
It gets me sexually stimulated. Now, I'll tell you why, okay. You owe the bank $20 million and you can't pay it back. You got a problem. But you owe the bank $1 billion and you can't pay it back. Is there a problem?
How do they give you $1 billion?
Real estate.
So, but if you say that you owe me $1 billion, that's your problem. What if the bank sees that you're saying that, or they would be like, okay, well, maybe we should stop lending this guy money. Is that just the reality of the situation? And everyone at that level knows that if you default, it's not your problem, but it's the bank's?
Well, you have to learn. It's a process you learn. The reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad is they don't teach us anything about money. And so when I was a kid, Rich Dad taught me playing Monopoly. And he says, one of the first persons on your team is your banker. So this is in Hawaii, Waikiki.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go with him. I'm a kid, going. And he'd be talking to his banker. So his banker understood his strategies, how he was doing things, never lied to him, had his financials. The average American doesn't have financials. If you don't have financials, income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flow, which is what I wrote about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, banker won't lend you any money. They give you a credit card. So you've got to play the game or speak the language of a banker. So as a young man, I sat there listening to Rich Dad talk to his banker, and then I go, holy mackerel. And his job was going to stretch him. And I said, look, I just need another $1 million. I said, $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And my old man, Poor Dad, they go, you can't even get a credit card. But you have to have a banker on your team. Mm-hmm. It's very, business is a team sport. My accountant, my attorney, my banker, they're on my team.
Why would you say your advice is so controversial? Why do people see it as something way out of the norm? Well,
when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it came out in 1997. I created my cash flow board game,
mm-hmm.
and nobody would buy it. So being an entrepreneur, I said, I better do something pretty quickly here. So I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 97. And of course, they all turned me down. So you know what you're talking about? I said, your house is not an asset. Oh, I caught hell for that one. Then I said, savers are losers, and the rich don't work for money. So those three statements in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I mean, I was catching hell from everywhere from that. I still remember I was living not too far from here, and I'm on the first time I'm on local TV, and I said, your house is not an asset. I got attacked by a bunch of these older women, should I say. Our house is an asset. Yours may not be. But if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, assets are defined by cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
If cash is flowing into you, it's an asset. If cash is flowing out, it's a liability. It's called financial literacy. Can you read numbers? Can you speak the language of money? But there's no financial education, so that these older women, they said, how dare you say that? And they were friends of mine. How dare you say that house is not an asset? I said, ma'am, how much does this cost you a month? I don't care what you say. It's so ingrained, you have to buy a house. Look at most guys, those, the young sports stars. They get $1 million bonus. What do they buy first? The house. It's so programmed into you.
So how do you simply determine then what is good debt and what is bad debt?
Debt that makes you rich and debt that makes you poor.
Is there an interest rate, though, that you wouldn't pay? Like, if they offer you debt at 20%, would that just be too
I've
much?
taken that.
You've taken debt at 20%?
It depends.
Yeah.
Depends on how tough situation you're in. It's a game. I played Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1031, red hotel. Most people never get past the first house. They only have no houses. To get to the second house, you get, one house you get $10. Second house you get $20. Third house you get $30. Fourth house $40. Hotel $60. Well, it's a quantum leap from 4 houses to that hotel. So I own hotels in town. I just play Monopoly. It's not that hard to do.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about you?
I'm a nice guy. No.
They think you're a nice guy and you're not?
I'm an well, you shut me.
Really?
Oh, God. I'm a U.S. Marine. Boy, you cross me, I on you with a cheap suit.
Well, you've been nothing but a nice person to us.
Well, because you guys are nice guys, too. But boy, there's respect. You guys are very respectful. You understand your subject. You're successful at what you do. I'm glad you brought that up because it's the last 2 Uber rides I had. I almost got into a fist fight with the driver.
Why?
They were lazy. This one Uber guy picks me up. He goes, hey, you write that book? I said, yeah. I said, no. He goes, did you read it? He goes, nah, I don't have time. Tell me what I should do.
He said that?
He said, do you think I just get rich? Yeah. I said, look, I study all the time. Do you study? He goes, no, I'm busy working. I said, so you're a poor working class guy.
You should have him buy your audiobook, though. They could listen to it in the car.
Yeah, you could have made a few dollars if you just upsold them your book right then and there.
I don't have time for lazy people.
I'm curious.
I don't have time for lazy people. It's easier to be lazy than productive.
Yeah. There's a couple interesting things there, but I do want to lean into the idea that a lot of wealthy people share that in the beginning, you need to do a lot and think a little bit less. And then once you start making a lot of money and you have a lot of people under you or you're a high-level operator, then you need to think more and do less. And your more money is made from your decisions instead of the actual work that you're putting in. Do you think in the beginning that you should just continue and work hard? When do you start really thinking about these things?
The thing that happened for me was I went to military school. I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an international best-selling writer. But it wasn't that I couldn't write. The teachers didn't like what I was writing. Those bastards. So I said, this school is a waste of time for me. I said, I want to be rich and you guys are poor. Why do I want to learn from poor people? My school teachers gave me an F for that. So I got nominations to Naval Academy, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I took Merchant Marine Academy. My study was oil. You know how much money I made from oil?
How much?
Lots. It's cash flow. I drill an oil well. Oil well will produce for 40 years. So I'll invest, let's say, $2 million in a partnership to drill for oil someplace in North Dakota or, Texas. And that oil well pumps oil for 20 to 30 years. And I pay no taxes. That's a lot better than paying that stupid stock market. Now, look, my point here is this. Mm-hmm. There's a million ways you can get rich. As young guys like you, find the way that works for you. Like Warren Buffett. I could never follow that guy. I personally don't like what Warren Buffett says, but he's successful at it. But I don't play the stock market. It's a waste of time for me. So I drill for oil. And I get that, and then I buy apartment houses with my money from my oil. And the apartment houses throw cash flow every single month. And I have apartment houses because I use 100% debt to finance the apartment houses so that I pay no taxes. It's only a game. It's sheer monopoly. Then I buy a hotel.
Do you think the average person should be investing in stocks, or who do you think should be investing in stocks?
The best advice for the average person is don't be average. Get your ass. The stock market and the 401k is set up for losers. You want to be a loser? Get a 401k.
Why do you not want to invest in stocks? Is that because of tax implications?
Control. I'm an entrepreneur, not a freaking loser. I control the oil well. I control the apartment houses. I control the hotels.
But isn't some of that dictated also by the city and the governance?
A little bit, yeah, sure. You got to play the game. The point here is most people are losers because they're lazy. America's too easy.
When do you think it made the switch that people have become lazier over time?
Good economy, debt. There's 200 million Americans on some kind of government welfare right now. That's almost over half the population, and they're all counting on what they call that stuff, Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
It's bankrupt. America's bankrupt. America loses $2 trillion a year. So we collect, let's say, $5 trillion in taxes, but we spend $7 trillion in expenses. We spend more on debt than we do on weapons. Mm-hmm. And we're fighting a war in the Middle East, and we're fighting that place in Ukraine. We're going bust. We're bankrupt. So that's why I say I don't save this. I always carry this around. Mm-hmm. Here's $10, and here's a 1964 coin. Which one do you want? This is 50 cents. This is $10. The average American goes for the $10. This is worth more. Because this is real money. This is fake. They go for fake money all day long. It's really, really sad. This, in 10 years, will be worth 20 of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they keep printing money. Why don't our schools teach us that? Because our school teachers are Marxists. They're Marxist. I mean, not bad people. They're just Marxist. I'm a capitalist. Okay, big difference.
Yeah. You would do great if you went on the street and you asked people, would you want $10 here or this 50-cent piece? And just see what people say.
I do it all the time.
They don't realize that that's silver.
I do. They don't know the difference.
How often do people take the silver?
None. This is worth more.
You say that they don't teach you this in school. I'm curious, why is this not a part of the curriculum? People always speculate they're keeping you poor. They want you to stay poor. They don't want you to understand investing, buying assets instead of buying liabilities. Who are these people that don't want you to become wealthy? Do you think they exist?
I wrote a book called The Capitalist Manifesto. One of the first books I went to military school, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. Our first book we had to read was the Communist Manifesto. I recommend everybody read the Communist Manifesto, and you'll find out that most of your friends are communists. They believe in paying income tax and a whole bunch of other things. So I went to military school. I read the Communist Manifesto, and I was curious at that, but I was 18 years old.
Mm.
And then I found out in 1930, Columbia University, that communist organization, invited Marxist teachers from the Frankfurt School in Germany to come to Columbia's Teachers College to teach teachers, American teachers, Marxism. So our school system is Marxist. If you can understand that, I mean, what they told you to pay taxes. You know what Marx says? Taxation is essential for the spread of communism. They also said most school teachers are labor union people. What Marx said was, workers of the world, unite. When I read the Communist Manifesto, it's only a small little book. I went, my family's communist. They're good people. Don't get me wrong. You know, you see them on the street, well, there's communists over there. But they pay taxes. I don't pay taxes.
One of the hardest parts about money and building wealth is finding a way to invest consistently and passively. Most of us, we just swipe our cards at groceries, gas, restaurants, and at the end of the month, there's nothing set aside to invest. And that is exactly why we've partnered today with Gemini to showcase the Bitcoin Credit Card, the only instant Bitcoin rewards card.
With this, every purchase you make earns Bitcoin back. That's up to 4% back on transportation, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else. It's really one of the easiest ways to gain some exposure to Bitcoin. All you have to do is use your card like you would normally, and instead of earning airline points that constantly get devalued, you get to earn Bitcoin back instantly. There's also no market timing required. You're just investing as you spend.
And to put it in perspective, Bitcoin rewards that are earned and held for 1 year on the Gemini credit card have appreciated 277% on average. Now, obviously, crypto is volatile, but it shows just how powerful this can be when you're thinking long-term. Plus, this card has no annual fee, so if you're interested, go to gemini.com/iced, and when you're approved and spend $3,000 in the first 90 days, they will give you $200 in Bitcoin.
You could even check if you're eligible with no impact to your credit score. Just head to gemini.com/iced or use the link down below in the description to apply today and start earning instantly.
Seriously, guys, this is a really powerful credit card with $0 in annual fees. If you want to earn the Bitcoin when you're spending your money and invest for the long term, I highly recommend it. See rates and fees in the description for more info. Thank you so much to Gemini for sponsoring this episode.
How would the government run, though, if they were not collecting taxes? Because there would have to be money coming from somewhere to pay for things like roads and city streetlights and things like this.
Not my problem. No, I mean, they'll figure it out. I mean, communists, they just extract your money from the top down. You know, Russia runs, they're communist. The point is, people don't know they're educated by communists. I was at Arizona State University, one of the fourth largest schools in America. I was on stage with a guy named Charlie Kirk. They came after us because we were teaching capitalism. So if you understand that, I would say 80% of all school teachers are at the core Marxists. They just don't know it. They pay tax. They belong to the teachers union. What's the biggest union in America? The NEA, National Education Association, National Extortion Association. Our test scores are going down. Teacher salaries going up.
If the average person knows nothing about money, if you could go in and rewrite the school's curriculum to teach financial literacy and how to invest, what are the top
I already
two?
did that. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
What would you say?
I already did that.
I agree. I read Rich
And that's why that lazy son of a Uber driver says, yeah, I got your book. I don't have time to read it. I said, the problem is they're lazy. They're hard-working, poor people. There's nothing wrong with being a hard-working, poor person. You guys had that guy on who I was talking to you about. He hung out with Richard Branson on Necker Island and all this. He says there's different kinds of poor and different kinds of rich. That was a great program you guys had. I sat there listening to it. I went. So he says you can be poor, but you can be ultra poor also, and you can be rich, and you can be ultra rich. And this guy was, what was his name? He was really,
Sahil Bloom.
man.
He was talking about the optimal rich to be? Because if you get ultra rich, you have to question, are people around you because of what you have? But if you're rich, you have access to things without being over the top.
Yeah. He was very good.
Yeah.
Your great program you guys had. So I listened to that. I learned a lot of it. So I was coming on your show. I better find out what you guys are about here. So you guys are into educating and illumination, basically, putting the light on a subject. But when he says there's, some people, they get so rich, it ruins their lives. I don't have that problem. Because getting rich is a game to me. That's all it is.
So where do people go wrong, where they get rich and it ruins their life? What makes you different, and how have you gone about that?
I think they sell their soul. We all have a soul. There's a price on it. And I just don't do that.
You've said savers or losers. That's one of my favorite quotes of yours. I'm curious, when you say savers or losers, what is the average person, the person that doesn't have a lot of extra money at the end of the month, supposed to do then?
Save. Real. Silver today is $45, I think.
Yeah.
Gold is $3,500. I started saving this when it was $1. I have boxes of silver, and I have boxes of gold. I own gold mines. I've taken 2 gold mines public, one on Toronto Stock Exchange, one on New York Stock Exchange. I believe in sound money. I don't work for this fake garbage, but that's what schools teach you to do. This is not money. This is called toilet paper. And they can print as much as they like of it. And it's killing us right now. It's killing this country. So I was just talking to you. I was in Zimbabwe last week. I was in Zimbabwe in 2002. When you guys may have seen them, here's 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Everyone's laughing at Zimbabwe. So I was in Zimbabwe in 2002. I'm a hunter. I'm a politically incorrect hunter. So I'm out there in Zimbabwe. I'm looking at this stuff. And the next year I went back again. The Zim dollar collapsed. And I'm in a truck, a hunting truck. And these truckload full of black guys with AK-47s. They're called war vets. Why they call them that, I don't know. They came up there, just went like this. All we can do is this. When the currency collapses, the economy collapsed. So that's why I say to Americans, I said, America is doing exactly the same thing Zimbabwe is doing now. We print money to pay our bills. There's no difference between a Zim dollar and a US dollar. So I warn people all the time, don't save this. Save silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Go for something that's not printed by the U.S. government. Like I said, I don't have oil stocks, but I own oil wells. And every month they pump oil. Guess what? They use it every month. Every month they send me a check. And because I'm in a vital industry, oil, I pay no tax. You don't have to, my friends live in Vegas or Puerto Rico. I said, if you knew the tax law, you wouldn't have to live in Puerto Rico or Vegas, because the tax laws are written for capitalists. If you're not a capitalist, you pay tax.
Do you invest in anything that you can't get depreciation on? Because I know with oil, you could depreciate it. Real estate, you could depreciate it. How do you decide where to allocate your money? And at what point do you buy something like Bitcoin or gold or silver?
I'm always moving money. My problem is too much money. If you just buy assets, rich don't work for money. What the rich work for are assets. So my first property, was 1974, getting out of the Marine Corps. I was a pilot. All my friends went on to become pilots for the pension. Guess what happened to all their pensions? Gone. They took all the pensions of the pilots. Bunch of losers. But I'm not going to fall into that trap. So this is 74. So at that point, I took real estate courses, stock courses, technical trading, I go to seminars. And you know what? I'm at these little seminars and goofy things like that around Honolulu. I meet guys like you. That's where I met my friends. There were people that were actually interested in learning about money. And we became really good friends. And my best friend and I became billionaires. I met him at a seminar, said, hey, let's kick some ass. But if you hang out with losers and poor people, that's your choice. And they're probably good people, am I wrong, Like that Uber driver, in his head, I'm quite sure he has a tape or a cassette playing. I'm a good-working, hard-working poor man. Unless he changes that tape, he's a hard-working poor man. I said, have you read my book? He said, no, I don't have time. But he has time to drive an Uber. God bless him. I like Uber. Saves me from DWI charges and all that other stuff. It's a great service. It's fantastic. But if a person doesn't change the tape up here, so that's why you read books and study and go to seminars and YouTube and what you guys are doing. Listen in.
So at this point, where do you make most of your income from?
Just property and oil. And I make a lot of money off of, I've been buying gold since I was not a kid, but, basically. So I just paid for my house. They wanted $4.5 million for it. So I just took out some gold from my safe, paid for it. The gold only cost me $450,000. The house was $4.5 million. But because I saved gold coins, so I only paid $450 for the gold. But over the years, it went to 4.5. So I paid for that. And man, I only hang out with friends who are rich. I mean, I don't mean I'm selective on that.
Yeah.
But we just get along. We're always doing deals together. So my other friend, Kenny McElroy, is one of the smartest real estate guys I know. He's doing billboards now. I said, Kenny, what the heck are you doing in billboards? He says, bonus depreciation. So that means you put 100,000 into a billboard.
Right.
You might get 500,000 depreciation. So by hanging out with smart guys, I get richer. And Ken and I are always studying together. We get together on a regular basis and we study. So when I was with those two Uber drivers, they just pissed me off the other day. Well, I don't have time, man. Tell me what I should do,
What percentage of people would you say have that mindset that they just don't have time?
Lazy people.
What percentage of the U.S.?
Probably 95%.
And what separates them from the 5%?
That was that guy. Who was that guy?
Sahil Bloom.
Everybody should listen to that.
We're going to link to that episode down below. Our episode with Sahil.
Highly right. We just posted it. So it's a brand new episode. So chances are you probably haven't seen it yet. So go and see it.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because it's only a choice. Well, how much, people say, well, how much is enough? I said, I don't think you get it. I go, what do you mean? See, they think money is about the dollar amount. To me, it's the game. I play Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, red hotel, oil wells. It's just a game to me. It's not serious.
What's your best investment that you've ever made?
I wrote a book. Sold 45 million copies of it. That's the biggest asset I've ever made.
How much did you make from the book?
I don't know. I don't count. I have accountants do that shit for me. I'm always moving money. I'm always moving my money into the next thing. So you can ask my friends, like Kenny McElroy. He says, hey, when's that billboard deal coming together? Good. Another friend, man, when's this property coming together? Good. I invest with other entrepreneurs. I don't invest on Wall Street.
Have you ever lost money with an investment? And what's been your worst investment?
My own company. But losing is part of winning. I think that's the thing that gets most people, because most frickin' school teachers tell you don't make mistakes. The reason school teachers are poor is we don't learn unless you make mistakes. I flew for the U.S. Marine Corps. And as we got ready to fly into Vietnam, I was in Camp Pendleton getting ready to go. I flew the gunship. Every day we had to practice crashing 3 to 5 times a day. We practice crashing. So because the odds are you're going to crash. So I went down 3 times in Vietnam. But every time the engine quit or I got, automatic. There's a book called The Big Print by Lawrence Lepard. Everybody should read The Big Print. It talks about traditional education versus military education. I went to military school. First word we learned at military school, mission. What's your mission? So Lepard talks about in military school, you're always preparing for something to go wrong. That is very, very true. Whereas in traditional school, everything's, sunshine and roses. In a perfect world, this will happen. But you cannot handle it. Like that first time I lost my engine, I tell you, it's terrifying. We're flying a strike into Vietnam. I think it's got 18 rockets on a machine crew, boxes of ammo. We're all strapped in. We got leather. We got, vests. We're heavy. That engine quit. The reason pilots die is they pull back. What we're trained to do as Marine Corps pilots, when that engine quits, you push forward. They call that you look at the eyes of death. So I was only about 1,500 feet when that engine quit. Went boom, nose forward, cut power. The team was already prepared. Rockets were being kicked out, canisters of ammunition kicked out, vests going off, and all this. Boom, into the water.
Wow.
I went over to Vietnam with 16 men. Lieutenant Kiyosaki, I came back with 16 men. All alive, all in one piece, because we prepare for bad times.
Although really quick, I just want to say that when it comes to business, they say that you could have better, cheaper, or faster, but you could only pick 2.
Well, what if you could have all 3 at the same time? And that's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI.
OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you could run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment, and spend less than you would with other clouds. How is it faster? Well, OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. How is it cheaper? Well, OCI costs 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. And when it comes to better, OCI customers report consistently lower latency and higher bandwidth than other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and all of your biggest workloads.
And right now, with zero commitment, you can try OCI for free at oracle.com/iced. Guys, that is oracle.com/iced. There's also a link down below in the description. Completely free to try it out with zero commitment. Thank you so much to Oracle for sponsoring this episode.
And really quick here, real talk, short-form content has been one of the biggest drivers of growth for the Iced Coffee Hour. We'll take our best moments and then clip them up for platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. But let's be honest, it takes a lot of time to do it correctly. That's why tools like our sponsor, Opus Clip, are a game changer.
Opus Clip isn't just a clipping tool anymore, though. It's a full AI-powered video editor built for creators. It can automatically pull in your long-form YouTube videos, find the best moments, add captions, B-roll, and even schedule clips to post while you're away. It's like having a full-blown editing team, but powered by AI. Top creators like Jubilee and Darman are already using it. In fact, we already use it on the Iced Coffee Hour. If you see this clip that Togi's reacting to right now, it was made by Opus Clip. So sign up today. All you have to do is go to opus.pro/icedcoffeehour to get started. Again, that is opus.pro/icedcoffeehour, or click the link down below in the description. Seriously, guys, I could not recommend it more. Thank you so much to Opus Clip for sponsoring this episode. What is the most important failure you've experienced?
I was court-martialed twice. And you ever see that movie, A Few Good Men with Nicholson?
It's been a long time.
Yeah. He's Colonel Jessup. He goes, "You can't handle the truth."
Yeah.
So what I was doing, for some reason, I like pretty women, I just find them very attractive. I always got in trouble with my helicopter and pretty women. So I was in Hawaii, stationed at Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. I go into Waikiki, I had shaved, and back then everybody had long hair. So they knew you were a Marine right away, and they spit on you, I came back from Vietnam, I got hit with rotten eggs and spit on, called names, terrible coming back as a Marine, as a serviceman. And so we couldn't pick up any women. So I said, well, I got this thing called a helicopter. So I talked to these young women. I said, want to go for a helicopter ride to a private island? They go, somehow they don't see your hair anymore, So I used to fly from Kaneohe Air Station to the Air Force Base next door to us, pick up the ladies, and we'd fly to this private island, loaded with beer and all this stuff, drinking.
Oh my gosh.
We'd be partying, going for the Mile High Club, everything. And so I'm having the best time. And so everybody hears about my little ventures I'm doing. And so my commanding officer says, can I go with you? Sure, sir. Yeah, he's a colonel. I'm a lieutenant. And he goes, sure. So we go, we're partying away on this island, drunk as skunks and all this stuff. And one day I come taxiing back in to Oahu, the main island, and I shut my engine off and MPs are out. They open the door of my helicopter. First thing that falls out is beer cans. So that's federal offense right there. Then I fell out. I had no flight suit on. I was in swimming trunks and rubber slippers. And in the back, they find cans of beer, diving gear, everything illegal. And the mistake I made was I started to lie. And so they caught me. They put me under house arrest. I had a nice condo in Waikiki. They put this Captain Abrams, nice Jewish attorney, prosecutor on my butt. Oh, he was good. I thought I was good. I'm trying to cover it was exactly like A Few Good Men. They took the fuel logs. And so they were checking my fuel logs and all this stuff. And I was lying through my teeth. And finally, I was like, I couldn't stand it anymore. He caught everything I did, this Abrams, great attorney. I mean, I respect him a lot. So I'm sitting in the room and he goes, so Lieutenant, on this day, did you do this? Sir, I'm going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I told him about every stupid thing I ever did. On this day, I flew women here. On this date, I did this here. This date, we did this here. And at the end of it, I think I lost 30 pounds because I was just so upset, lying, tracking me down and all this stuff. I sat there like this and on the stand. And I looked up at Captain Abrams and I said, how many years, sir? And he smiled at me and says, you're free. I said, what? Just get the out of here. Honorable discharge. Thank you, Marine. And I said, what? He looked at me and he says, son, I'll tell you something. We all up. We all make mistakes. Just don't lie. Because when you lie about your mistakes, you become a liar. And that's the worst thing you can do. That was one of the best lessons I ever had. So to this day, I have tremendous respect for the U.S. Marine Corps because they pounded me. Oh, they pounded me. And this Captain Abrams, man, he was one smart dude. I don't know how he caught all my, I was cheating on top of that, I was a top secret officer. So I had a lot of top secret files and all that. He tracked me down. And so when I saw A Few Good Men with Nicholson, and so Jessup Nicholson goes, you can't handle the truth. I said, that was it.
How did that change your mindset afterwards?
Don't lie. You up. God designed us to make mistakes. The way a baby learns to walk is to fall down. The way you learn to ride a bike is to fall down. Do you know what I mean? We make mistakes. So God does, I'm not really religious, I'm not preaching here. The way humans were designed to learn is by making mistakes. So I'm an entrepreneur. I made a lot of mistakes. But that's why I'm rich today. And those Uber drivers didn't want to go through that process. I crashed 3 times. I have a broken back because of it. But we practice making mistakes. And I think our academic system is screwed up because most school teachers sing from the Bible of don't make mistakes because mistakes make you stupid. The facts are humans are designed to make mistakes, and that's how we learn.
How has only ever being honest and telling the truth positively affected your life? We had Kevin O'Leary on this podcast a while ago. I'm sure you probably know who he is. He would say
he's a smart dude, boy.
He is a smart guy. And he was saying the exact same thing that you're saying right now, which is one lie can destroy your life.
Yeah, exactly.
One lie. And so he has made a pledge to only ever be honest. And that's part of why he is the way that he is. He's known as Mr. Wonderful because he's so blunt and cut and dry and honest.
Yep.
He only says the truth, and he credits that towards his, I would say, understanding that you should only ever be honest and never lie.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. That's how I lost so many companies. We make mistakes, but don't lie about it. So I've paid my bills. I've lost several $1 million. I paid it off. But that's why I'm rich today. But those Uber drivers didn't want to go through that process. They want, what's the quick fix? I said, buy Bitcoin. So I can't afford it. It's got a problem. Bitcoin's brilliant, by the way. I think it's brilliant in Ethereum.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You don't have to be that smart and you get rich.
Yeah. A lot of people compare real estate with Bitcoin. They say Bitcoin is like a digital real estate in a sense that you're buying something that's fixed. What is your thought on
That's bullshit.
What is your thought on real estate today?
Real estate's a tough game.
Do you think that prices for real estate are elevated to a point where it just no longer makes sense to buy?
It doesn't make any difference to me. If it's too expensive, you don't buy it.
Yeah.
I love crashes. When the markets crash, that's when I get rich. Everything goes on sale. So people live, today this is September 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The S&P is at all-time highs. I'd be out because I only go one more direction down.
Do you expect a crash in the near future, and how do you get rich during a crash?
Well, that's what I was talking about Zimbabwe when I was there. When I saw that crash, I said, this is great. The sad thing, what happened in Zimbabwe was I was talking to this young entrepreneur about your age. He lost his nerve. I could tell he was smart. He had that. I said, you live in one of the richest, Zimbabwe is one of the richest countries. It's a gold country. Man, there's so many gold mines here and all this. I'd be on like a cheap suit. He lost his nerve. I've seen it happen. When a pilot loses their nerve, we take them off the line. They just can't handle it. I mean, people is tough. When I was flying into combat, we used to put rock and roll music on because we had to jack ourselves up. When you see your friends go down and you never see them again, it just takes your heart out. Your friends don't come back to the carrier, gonna cry. But the next day, you better strap in. You're going back at it again. That's what I loved about the military. It was mission first. You didn't count. So I meet young men especially go, where's your testicles? Get up there and fight hard. But they don't do that to me, My friends who are now like generals and things like this, they can't find men. So the Marine Corps is having a tough time finding men.
So on the topic of a possible incoming crash, do you expect some sort of a stock market crash, and how can you get rich during the crash?
Everything goes on sale. See, I don't save dollars. I only save gold and silver and Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't save this stuff. So in a crash, gold, silver, and all that, what they do is they print more money. When they print more money, those go up in value. So my gold goes up, silver goes up, Ethereum goes up, Bitcoin goes up. So you got to know in a crash, this goes up, crash, this goes down. It's the same as flying an aircraft, you know. So I like crashes. The reason I'm in Phoenix, Arizona is in 2008 when it crashed here. The best real estate on earth went on sale. I bought so much. It was incredible. The banks were happy to see you.
There's this belief now, though, that we're not going to see a crash anymore, and that if we see the markets drop, the Fed can come in and just print more money and bail us out.
That's right.
How does that change your investing philosophy?
Because when you print money, the rich get richer and the poor and middle class get poorer. The reason we have homelessness today is because we have a Federal Reserve Bank. It's a criminal organization. Anything that's a central bank is Marxist. So the Fed is Marxist, if you understand that. So Thomas Jefferson said, if we allow somebody to take over our money, which the Fed did, people wake up homeless in their own lands. Look at homelessness is exploding. People can't afford homes. Your age is having tougher time because prices are so high. When you print fake money, which this stuff is, you make life harder on people. But guys like me who have assets, you print this goes up. But if you print this, the price of coffee also goes up. So inflation is going to wipe out my generation. The boomers don't have enough money to get through inflation. They're going to be the boomers are going to be homeless all over the place.
What about the argument that AI is going to help bring down the cost of a lot of items and that we might not see as much inflation over time because we could start doing things for less?
AI is going to cause unemployment. So what happened was the industrial age took out the manual worker, the guy who worked with his hands. AI is going to take out the doctors and lawyers. I don't need a lawyer anymore. AI does it for me. So there's going to be good and bad to it. But I don't really give a shit. If you understand money, that the way the Fed operates, which is a Marxist organization, they're going to print. Like I said, I was in Zimbabwe. They printed to solve their problems, and they kept printing. And it collapsed. I went to watch how they couldn't trade because the Zim dollar was worthless. So I'm in Harare, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. And they had a thing called United Nations. And in the back of this garage, all these people were coming together. It was like a big swap meet because the money was no good. They're saying, I got this for sale here. I'll trade you my watch. Or I got some tomatoes for sale here. And they went to a barter economy that fast. So when I tell you guys I was in Zimbabwe, every guy goes, well, where's Zimbabwe? But America is following Zimbabwe right now, so you may as well prepare for it. What Zimbabwe did was they printed money to pay their bills. We print $2 trillion a year. That's what Trump is trying to stop. But there's people who will take him out for that.
Yeah. Do you think for the average person, given what you've just said, should buy or rent a house?
It's an expense to me. That's all it is. The problem is if you don't make enough money, like that Uber driver, those two of them, right in a row. Well, I don't have time to read your book, so thank you, bye.
But if the average person needs to live somewhere and they say they're going to print more money, there is the belief that real estate as a result of that is probably going to be worth more.
Don't ask what-if questions. Look, I own 1,500 rental properties. I'll just go sleep in one of them. How many guys do you own?
7.
So I just keep buying. No, it's a serious.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson said, if a central bank takes over, which the Fed is, People wake up homeless in their own lands. And that's what's happening today. I look at the people who are homeless. Now you can say, well, they're on drugs or mentally deranged and all this stuff, which is probably true. But it's getting harder. When you print money, the rich get richer and the poor and middle class get poorer. So if you own a house and you print money, you feel, oh, my price of my house went up. But the average person, so the price of chicken and eggs and yogurt goes up. And inflation wipes them out. So mark my words, I'm the first of the boomers. We're going to get wiped out via inflation. Your mommy and daddy may be on the street because inflation is going to wipe out the Social Security.
When's the last time that you were wrong about a prediction that you had made?
Never.
Never wrong.
As long as they're printing money, you can predict what's going to happen. It's happened throughout time. The Romans did it. The Chinese did it. Hitler did it. They all do it.
What are your price targets for something like Bitcoin, gold, silver?
I have no price target. I have an entry, and I don't sell. So like right now, to me, the biggest bargain is silver. So silver's about $40, $50.
Mm-hmm.
And Ethereum, I think, is very good right now. I stopped buying Bitcoin.
Why?
Too high.
I've seen so many predictions that Bitcoin's going to hit 1 million, 5 million. So if it's too high, why not sell?
I don't need the money. I don't need money. I get 1,500 rental properties. I own oil wells.
Yeah.
Money keeps pouring in. I got to keep moving my money around. I invest in assets. Let me give you the 3 rules of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The rich don't work for money. The rich work to acquire assets. And an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, whether you work or not. Some of my little oil wells, I'm investing in billboards now.
Mm-hmm.
And the billboards are going to be outside Las Vegas, right, guys? And they pay every month, they pay you money for those billboards. And I get bonus depreciation. Okay. So I'm always moving my money.
What's the ROI of a billboard? What's the ROI?
I have no idea right now. It's just being put together now.
Yeah.
It's bonus depreciation. So I put $1 million in, I get 5 million depreciation. That means I don't pay tax.
What would you say is the worst financial advice you've ever heard?
Warren Buffett. He's for average people. He's a smart man. But I listen to him, I go.
So we actually have a video I'd love for you to react to.
Warren Buffett speaks for the average man. And my saying to you guys is, don't be average. You want to be the best at what you can do.
I want to get your thoughts on what Warren Buffett said on leverage. This is what he said.
They risked what they did have and did need. And that's foolish. That is just plain foolish. It doesn't make any difference what your IQ is. If you risk something that is important to you for something that is unimportant to you, it just does not make any sense. I don't care whether the odds are 100 to 1 that you succeed or 1,000 to 1 that you succeed. If you hand me a with 1,000 chambers, 1 million chambers in it, and there's a bullet in one chamber, and you said, put it up your temple, how much do you want to be paid to pull it once?
So that's on leverage. That's why take a risk in anything if you don't need the extra money.
What was he talking about? He has the biggest leverage of all. He has an insurance company. That's massive leverage. The reason you own insurance companies is because insurance companies have to keep placing their money. You want to get rich, you buy an insurance company. He's full of shit. He's a smart guy in his field. My whole message to everybody is this. Find out the best field for you. For me, it's real estate and oil. I'm very good in those 2 fields. And now billboards. I love gold and silver. I have a gold mine in Utah. I took it public on New York Stock Exchange. So one of my goals was to list a company on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's what entrepreneurs do. Our goals are different. The average guy says, oh, I think I'll have a well-diversified program, 401k. That's not my goal. It takes no intelligence in a 401k. To me, it's a waste of time. I can beat the 401k all the time. I'd rather have oil wells that pay me every single month. Guess what? Every month they're going to burn that oil. Every month. And every month, because they're burning that oil, I get a depletion allowance, which means I pay less tax. So I make more money and I pay less tax. To me, that's smart. To put my money in a 401k, I might as well give it to Warren Buffett. And nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Buffett's a smart boy, but his thing on leverage, he's talking about the average guy. Yet he bought an insurance company, I think it was Geico or something like that. Insurance companies are the biggest leverage there is because they have to leverage their money. If you can put $200 in, they have to be able to pay you your money back later on. So he doesn't tell the whole story. And he also he called gold rat droppings or something like that.
That was, I think, Bitcoin. He called Bitcoin rat
Rat
droppings.
droppings.
Yeah.
He's entitled to his opinion. Fine. But each of us has to find the way that makes the most sense to them. I like Bitcoin. I like Ethereum. I like gold. I like silver. I like real estate. I like oil. I don't like stocks. If you like stocks, invest in them. But be good at it. You got to be very, very good at it. The most important thing, don't lie. You make a mistake. Mistakes are very good ways to learn. Oh, I screwed up here.
Yeah.
People who lie about their mistakes don't learn.
When it comes to investing in stocks, what do you think about investing in index funds or ETFs that
I
just
don't do that
track the
shit.
market?
For losers. My opinion.
Yeah.
But if you're a loser, have a good time.
Graham's a loser.
I
Graham loves
like index
But
funds. Yeah.
tell me wrong. It's not exciting. It's boring.
That's why I like it, though, because I
know.
don't have to worry. I don't have to think.
It fits you.
Because here's the thing: when you're talking about owning all these rental properties and billboards, to me that just seems like mental energy that gets tied up. And again, you've said before that you do what works for you.
Yes.
And when I think about something like my rental properties, I can't stand them because when something gets fixed, I look at the bill and I think, how could I have done this for less money? Is this a good bill? I start itemizing every little thing and thinking.
You're mixing property management.
I have a property manager.
Yeah, I don't do that shit.
See, here's what bothered me. I had a refrigerator.
I don't do that shit, okay? I'm not a laborer.
But how do you know that you're not getting ripped off?
Because I have good property managers.
Yeah.
Kenny McElroy is my partner. You should read his stuff,
We've been told by a few people we should have him on the show.
Yes.
The man is a freaking genius. I mean, the thing I love about Kenny, he's funny, but he's one of the smartest entrepreneurs I've ever met. So when I have a question, I talk to him. The same as my tax guys, Tom Wheelwright, Tax-Free Wealth, interview him. I want to find out oil. It's my friend Mike Maselli. So I just want the cash flow. I don't want capital gains. I don't want that. I want cash flow. I want as much debt as I can get, and I don't want to pay taxes. That's my game.
Yeah, I think when it comes to me in real estate, though, I'll give you the refrigerator example because it still bothers me after a few months. I had a refrigerator ice maker just like this that broke. And so the tenant called the property manager. The property manager sends me a bill. And I see the bill, and it's already paid, already done, but it was $1,200. And the refrigerator was worth $700. And so I said, we spent $1,200 to save a $700 refrigerator. That doesn't make sense. Where did we go wrong on this? And that little discrepancy took my focus away from doing anything else that would have yielded a higher return than me focusing on the refrigerator. And you could say, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter in the big picture. It really doesn't. But stuff like that, I can't help it. It's just how my mind works to optimize every little thing. And so the less I have on my plate and the more I could just focus on doing something like this that gives a way better ROI than that refrigerator or the property. That's the way I think of things. So I just want to outsource and just index fund.
Okay, I will say the mentality of I can't help the way that I believe, like that my mind is going to react that way,
Sure.
is a complete cop out. You absolutely can.
That's true.
So you can choose at any given moment to feel however you want to feel. You could choose right now to be like, okay, I'm never going to think about that again. So that's a cop out. I just want to
True.
say that.
Okay,
I'm not going to
okay.
let you say that
All right,
and just be like, I'm just the type of guy to get really upset when something happens. You could choose to
That's
not
fair.
get upset.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You're looking at the property management side. I look at real estate at the finance side. So who else is going to lend me? Like I borrowed, how much did I borrow last week? Oh, $25 million. Who's going to give me $25 million to buy the S&P? But real estate, they do. Debt is the way I get rich. So Buffett's saying debt is no good. That's Buffett's plan. This is a great program because what we're saying is find the way that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're fighting with a refrigerator. I'd rather get $25 million in cash to buy the damn place and hire a property manager. You know?
Speaking of debt, I would love to hear your opinion on this. We had Dave Ramsey on this podcast, and I asked him a question. I want to hear your thoughts on his response. If you could borrow $1 billion, 0% interest for 10 years, would you do it?
No.
Even though you could put it in treasuries and pay it off after the 10 years. You could lock in 10-year treasury right now, 10% or 5%.
No.
It's not worth it.
I don't borrow money.
There we go. What do you think about that?
That's Dave Ramsey's formula. Unfortunately, he's really short-sighted. What he doesn't understand is 1971, the U.S. dollar became debt. If you stop borrowing money, the U.S. economy stops. So he says live debt-free. He's actually unpatriotic. I borrow money as a patriot because when I borrow money, I create money. Money only comes into existence after 1971 when we borrow money. But it's his formula. But he and I have gone around and around on this, live debt-free. I said, good.
Although really quick, if you're looking to cut back on expenses without really changing your lifestyle, looking at your phone bill is one of the best places to start. Most people are still paying $60, $80, or even $100 or more for something they barely even think about. That's why we're excited to be partnering with today's sponsor, Helium Mobile, because they're doing phone service completely different.
I kid you not, Helium has a plan that is literally $0 per month. It gives you 3 gigabytes of data, 100 minutes of calls, and 300 texts, no contract, no credit card, and yes, it actually works. It's absolutely perfect if you're just a light user or you want a cheap second phone line. And with the Zero plan, you'll also earn cloud points, think like credit card or airline points, but literally just for using your phone.
You could redeem those cloud points for gift cards to places like Amazon, Apple, Target, Starbucks, and more, right from the Helium mobile app. It's one more way that Helium helps you save and earn at the exact same time.
They also just launched the Sprout plan made specifically for kids. For just $5 per month, your kid can get their own line, you monitor their usage, and you can even manage how they spend their rewards within the app.
And if you need more data, they've got the Air plan for just $15 a month for 10 gigabytes, or the Infinity plan at $30 a month for unlimited. Still way cheaper than other carriers.
So guys, we've left a link down below in the description to try Helium Mobile today. Just make sure to use the code COFFEE to get $10 in cloud points, which can be redeemed for gift cards to your favorite brands after 90 days. Once again, guys, there's a link down below in the description. Thank you so much to Helium Mobile for sponsoring this episode.
Although really quick, let's be real, no one is starting a business for the joys of calculating tax withholdings or keeping track of payroll deadlines. But that's the stuff that has to get done. And thankfully, our sponsor, Gusto, is there to help.
It's so funny, but I've actually used Gusto long before they decided to partner with us on this episode. In fact, when I created my first ever S-Corp, Gusto was there to help because I had no idea what I was doing. From tax filings to benefits to deadlines, it was extremely overwhelming, but Gusto walked me through everything step by step, and I've been using them ever since. Gusto is an online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere.
They've got automatic payroll, tax filings, direct deposit, health benefits, workers' comp, commuter benefits, even 401k options. Everything you need, but without the headaches. And they have options for practically every budget.
You also get unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price. There are no hidden fees, no surprises, plus they have certified HR experts you can reach out to if anything tricky comes up.
It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast, and you don't pay a single cent until your first payroll.
Try Gusto today at gusto.com/iced, and you can get 3 months for free when you run your first payroll. Seriously, guys, I've used Gusto for 5 years. All of my friends that have created S-Corps and need to run payroll, I tell them all to use Gusto. It's amazing they're sponsoring this episode because I really do love the service.
That is gusto.com/iced. Again, gusto.com/iced with the link down below in the description to get started today. Thank you so much, Gusto, for sponsoring this episode. And now let's get back to the podcast.
Have you ever spent time with Dave?
A little bit. I had dinner with him one night, and I said, how do you think this guy pays for this building? He says, debt. Debt. 1971, the dollar became debt. So just understand that. So in my point of view, when I'm borrowing money, I'm creating money.
Do you think there's any peace of mind that you have owning a paid off house, no debt, no credit cards, everything you buy is yours?
Yeah, but that doesn't make me peace of mind. I like my game.
Yeah.
I like buying something as big as I can, using other people's money as much as I can. It's my game. Don't do what I do. I like my game. The first, when I came out of the Marine Corps, I had to learn several things. I had to take sales courses. So my rich dad says, if you can't sell, you can't be an entrepreneur. Then after that was how to raise capital, debt. And that's when I found out, he says, you better get to know your banker. And so I plan my future by, what I did every day. I don't just jump into it. So I got to know my banker fairly well. Then I got to know my accountants. And then some I liked, some I didn't like. So today we have the Rich Dad Advisor team. My accountants, Tom Wheelwright, I ask all of them to write books to tell people what they do for me. My accountant on the corporate side is Garrett Sutton, because I use corporations to protect my wealth, but also limit taxes. So I don't come into this just guessing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think money buys happiness? That you become happier the more money you have?
I do. Have you ever been poor?
I wouldn't say poor, but definitely growing up, things were paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, it's not happy. I buy like what I want to buy.
At what point do you think money slows down?
If you sell your value system, your soul, you're doing what you hate to do. I love what I do. Like I went back to Zimbabwe to teach. I work for free. I don't need money. I have so much money coming in, I can work for free. I would hate it if I couldn't go back to Zimbabwe and have to charge them money. I work for free because I have so much money coming in from assets, not from a job.
Have you seen many people sell their soul? And when they do, what does that typically
Every day
look?
it's called they go to work. I see on the highway every morning.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I remember I went to a doctor's appointment recently, and I went right after lunch. And so I'm watching some of these doctor's assistants coming in, and they say, oh man, it was Friday. They said, only 4 more hours until we could get off work. What are you doing this weekend? They're all talking. And I remembered briefly, I was working like this 9-to-5 job doing data entry when I was 18. And I remember that same feeling where you would dread Sunday because you had to go to work on Monday morning. And I remember thinking on Fridays, oh great, 1 more day left. Only 3 hours to lunch. And then after lunch, oh great, only 3 hours left until I'm off. I'd be so happy on Friday. Then Saturday, I would think to myself, oh man, Sunday, I have to go to bed early because Monday I have work. And I remember just thinking I never wanted to experience that ever again.
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot too,
Yeah.
And I, my best friend, who he and I both became billionaires together. And he taught me a very valuable lesson. He says, you start work on Sunday. I went, what? He just reframed it. So we worked at Xerox together in Honolulu.
Yeah.
We'd go to work, get our own key. we do all of our work on Sunday night because we got more done. And we submitted our proposals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
What do you think is the best use of spending money that you found?
Education. Like I said, I get one of the benefits of my job is people want me to come and speak for them. So I get to go, oh, I can attend a seminar. And I get to hang out with some really smart people, in the green room. That's how I met Trump.
Yeah.
Trump and I hanging out in the back room going, and he goes, who are you? And he's the best guy. He and his sons, Don Jr. and Eric, man, they're good kids, And we became best of friends sitting in the back room together.
When was this?
Oh, years ago now.
What was your first impression of him?
I think the same as everybody else is kind of a presence. He exudes power. He is a very powerful man. Don Jr. and Eric Trump were hunters. And we go, this is private island I used to take women to in Hawaii. We do it legally this time. And we fly there. We have no toilets, no running water. Those young boys ask no quarter. They're extremely well-raised young men. If I had sons, they would be like those two guys. They're the best. Tough, not mean, but strong men.
What have you learned from Trump?
That's a good question. Just I can call him. He's very accessible.
How often have you called him?
Very rarely.
And when you do, what do you ask?
Well, generally I say, hey, where's Don and Eric? We're going hunting together. No, it's just fun. We're just friends. We wrote 2 books together. And we'd write, and as he'd say, so I got to understand how he thought. I said, here's a problem, and the book was called The Midas Touch, why some entrepreneurs get rich. So I had to sit with ask him, so how would you do this? And he's most generous. He's a very generous man. His whole staff in New York City, just the best people. There was Rona and Meredith and all this. His bodyguard, Keith. He and I had really good people. They're not arrogant. They're not cocky. That was the most surprising thing about hanging out with them.
How do you think Trump raised such strong children?
They said that, I asked that question.
Yeah.
Said their mother kicked their asses. Now, and they had a sister, certainly Ivana.
Mm-hmm.
They're just good kids, just really solid young men. Really, really solid. I mean, you're sitting out there. There's no toilet. You got to dig a hole.
Yeah.
We had to eat what we killed, and they don't. Not wimps. They're just solid, good guys.
What was your last conversation with Trump like?
It was, we're supposed to write a 3rd book together. And I said, he says, Robert, can't do the book deal with you. Gotta let me out of it. We have a 3-book deal.
Mm-hmm.
I said, sure, you're out. Why am I going to hold it?
Yeah.
So I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm running for president. I said, good luck. That's all I could say to him. The next thing you know, he's coming down the stairs,
Would you ever want to be president?
No. He is, the guy Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, we've had him on the podcast. Yeah.
He's a smart dude, Jordan is. But I got to hang out with those guys in green rooms. So I was hanging out with Jordan Peterson and all this stuff. And he was talking about Trump, and Jordan has that saying. He says, you think tough men are bad, weak men are the worst. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan says something like that. And so he says, Trump is a strong man. That's what we need at this time. Could you imagine if Kamala had won, or Joe Biden's crime family? My God. So we needed a tough man at this time. I know people hate him. My family hates him. But he's a tough man right now.
How do you think politics affect the average person when it comes to their money?
Well, they pay taxes.
That's true.
No, I mean, to me, it's really simple. Because I was in Zimbabwe last week.
Yeah.
They went bust because they printed money to pay their bills. The United States was at $36 trillion in debt today.
37 now.
37.
It's almost 38. It's
And we have
37.6.
200 million. So let's say 350 Americans. 200 million are on some kind of government subsistence. And my whole family, not all of them, their idea of a good job is getting a government pension. So it's in your value system. I don't want a government pension. But there's so many of our school teachers, they want that government pension. And that's the 200 million that are part of this Social Security disaster we have coming. And so I said, young people like you, study Zimbabwe, 2002. I had my hands up like this. I'm going, law and order breaks. Law and order broke down.
If you were the average person, let's just call them in their 20s today, and you were starting from zero, what would you do?
I learned how to sell. I like network marketing. I tell people to join network marketing. I said, why is that? It's because you learn to take rejection. If you can't take rejection, you can't be an entrepreneur. It's probably everybody likes to be liked.
Mhm.
I like to be liked. But man, you can handle rejection. You got it made. So network marketing, the guys I hang out with, they're just really good. Another guys are really good are Mormon missionaries. Man, those guys take a lot of rejection. I hang out with several of them and go, how'd you guys do that, How did you do that, And they said, man, you knock on the door. I'm from the Mormon church.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus, the best training you got.
How do you not take that personally? And how do you become
That's
a
the
good
trick.
salesperson?
That's the trick. If you're like they call it a snag, a sensitive new age guy, it's hard to get ahead. But there's so many people, they take things so personally. I should have mentioned the names, but I won't mention it. I told this one person, you charge too much money. They got so upset with me. So my friends are complaining about you. They can't take feedback. Feedback is how we learn.
How often do you get feedback where people come to you and say, here's my thoughts about what you're doing? And how do you know whether or not to listen to somebody?
That's a good question because a lot of times I have such a nice temper. It's not good. It's not healthy. So I've got to learn to control my temper and actually seek the feedback. It's a discipline I have. Things change as you age and do better and all this stuff. So life's always about change and growth, personal development. I like what you guys are doing, like I said. And I love YouTube because a lot of characters on there, a lot of, but I listen to them too. Just keep your mind open and chug along.
But how do you decide what to listen to and take to heart and maybe make changes versus someone just giving you advice that's maybe incorrect?
It's a risk you take. I think the most important lesson I learned was I studied with a man named Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. This guy invented the geodesic dome. So if you go, I went to the Montreal World Expo in '67. The U.S. Pavilion was Bucky Fuller's dome. And I'm in there with my classmate. But I had studied Fuller. They're considered one of the greatest geniuses of our time. I'm studying with Fuller this one. Look at this thing. So I went to study with him. The lesson I learned, choose your teachers wisely. So once I understood that I wanted to study with Fuller, I tracked him down. So when he gave a seminar, I went to listen to him. So I studied with Fuller for 3 summers. Once here, once in Hawaii, once there. And I sat there with him, and he asked me, it was about a class of about 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, I don't like to share things by myself. And he kind of said, hey, what's your life's purpose? And here he is, the world's greatest genius, Buckminster Fuller. John Denver wrote songs about him, all this stuff. I said, I'm going to get rich. And in front of 100 people, he chews me out. Young man, getting rich is a waste of a good mind. I went, what? So here's all his groupies who love him. I'm getting my ass chewed up by Bucky Fuller, And he goes, well, what am I supposed to do? He says, ask yourself this, young man. What does God want done? I said, what? What does God want done? Not what do you want to do? What does God want done? So I'm hurting inside because he chewed me out for 100 people. Nobody's like get chewed out. But the lesson hit me. It says, what does God want done? So this is in Reno, Nevada, in the mountains. So I left there and I said, what does God want done? I thought about it and thought about it. And I created my cash flow board game. And I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I said, there's no financial education in schools. I think if I was God, that's what I would want. And that was in 96 and 97. And now those board games have gone all over the world.
Did you know when you wrote the book that it was going to be a hit?
I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. It's not that I can't write. The teacher didn't like what I was writing. But the question I leave for young men like you, what does God want done? You know, you can see it. And for me, I was kind of naturally interested in money. So I naturally studied money. And so when Dave Ramsey says, live debt free, I said, well, if you understood money, Dave, you stop borrowing money and the economy stops. What are you going to do? You couldn't answer the question.
When's the last time you changed your mind on something?
All the time.
In any significant way, anytime in the past few years or recently?
Recently, yeah. Like going to Zimbabwe. I said there.
How did that change your mind, though?
I realized I made a promise back in 2002. There's a poem I wrote about it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. The title of the poem was The Road Less Traveled. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And I said, I'm supposed to come back to Zimbabwe and teach. And I said, I get paid $0. But I made a promise to those people in 2002 I'd come back because I have promises to keep. So now my cash flow board game's there. They're teaching everybody. I'm doing 120 games, and they're going to start clubs all around Zimbabwe to teach people money come up because I've kept the promise. I'm going to teach these people or allow them the possibility of learning because they're not going to learn it in school.
Yeah.
They're one of the richest countries in the world. Used to be called Rhodesia. Now it's Zimbabwe. The biggest financial disaster in history took place there. The Zim dollar. The US dollar's next. So I'm practicing.
How do you now define wealth or success now that you have basically all of the money anyone could ever ask for?
What does God want done?
So you ask yourself that, come to an answer, and then pursue that.
What emphasis do you place on legacy?
Not much. When I'm dead, that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have any children.
No.
What are you going to do with your money?
That's going to my ex-wife. She's going to manage it. Now that's going to be a big foundation. I know that. But I haven't decided how. That's a project I'm working on now. That's a very important question.
What's one daily habit you never will skip?
I get up every morning and take, I read, I wouldn't call it spiritual, but the kind of spiritual readings. And I don't just read it, I write it. And I write it 3 times. So it might be a paragraph. Because I studied from Maria Montessori in the Montessori school system, great entrepreneur. She says, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So if I just read spiritual words, when I have to write them, it embeds. So that's one habit. I get up and I basically, not plagiarize them, just, oh, it's a nice passage. I write it 3 times.
Cool.
And I set the day off with that.
Who would you say is the biggest mentor or influence on your life?
Buckminster Fuller. The happiest thing about my life is kind of not really religious, but I believe there's a God. And there's vibrations that we go through in life, you know. Like I feel good here, go someplace else, you don't feel so good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a whole series with another guy on Bucky Fuller now. So like you guys do an iced coffee hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one on Bucky Fuller, the
I
greatest
love
genius of our time. And that makes my heart happy. So that's God telling me you're on course. Because the frequent, you know, it feels good. That's
Good.
If you were to finish this sentence, money is blank, what would you put in the
freedom.
blank? Freedom.
Cool.
Robert,
Thank you.
thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. This was honestly a blast. This was an
Thank you.
honor, a pleasure.
That's great.
Your insights are phenomenal. I love not only like the money and finance conversation, but also just the life and everything. And I think it's also interesting, what would God want? Asking yourself that and then just gearing your actions towards it.
Yeah, what does God want done? And then go do it.
Thank you. This is an honor.
Thank
Really
you.
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Till next time.
Thank you.